I got that CMOS, baby, call me a CMOS, baby. Do that body good like CMOS, baby. I'm a leader, I'ma take you to the treetop, baby. I care about your health, did you hydrate lately? I got that CMOS, baby, call me a CMOS, baby. Do that body good like CMOS, baby. I'm a leader, I'ma take you to the treetop, baby. I care about your health, did you hydrate lately? Alright, y'all, so this is the Verbal Apothecary. I got my brother, Perfect Prophet here, AKA Rashid Campbell, AKA 1/3 of Curse Crew. You know what I'm saying? Straight from East Oakland. It's some real E.S.O.teric energy in the building. And man, it's a blessing to be on this platform with this brother, man. We go way back like Cadillacs. You know what I'm saying?
With faux flats.
And we was pushing that thing, you know, until we got to the gas station.
We was walking.
You know, hey, AC Transit pulled up and picked us up like limos. You know what I'm saying? It's all about your mind state.
Footing it.
And your grind rate.
You know what I mean?
Hey, man, it's a lot of game in the building. And the interesting part about it is, man, the time has passed, but the energy is still very strong in terms of connection. And so this brother right here is a high representation of hip hop to me.
One of the highest.
Oh, no, hey, talk your opinions. Because at the end of the day, really from the soil, really has conquered a lot in his life and has been a shining example of going from the bottom to the top. And it's not about ends, because it don't ever end. You feel me? It's about the impact that you make and the ripples that you make in this pool that we swimming in called life. And I feel like this brother has made a lot of waves that you probably didn't even know. And it's okay, because we're here to go a little deeper. And I know the story is long, so I definitely want to bring you on for another part so we could go deep. But I want to talk about some of those ripples that you made. So first of all, who are you, brother? What's your name? Where you from? And tell us something about yourself.
My name is Rashid Campbell. I got a longer name than that, but it's just simplified down to Rashid. Perfect Prophet. Perfect Prophet 11 if you on TikTok. I don't know. Mm-hmm. A debater. Most definitely an artist. But more than that, just really a revolutionary in all aspects of what I would like to be. And when I say revolutionary, I mean a promoter of change, a person who is actively trying to promote positive change in the most radical way, radical meaning from the root of whatever the problems that exist for black people. And really just a lover of black folks. You know what I mean?
And we bringing you the herbals and the verbals with Verbal Apothecary, right? And so that's important to say, because the herbals represents the healing energy that comes from the earth, the herbs, the medicine, but the verbals also have a healing ability. And this brother is very saucy with the words, and he mentioned that he was a debater, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like hip-hop is one of those things that is very confrontational at times. You know what I'm saying? Rebellious at times. And for this brother to go from East Oakland to Oklahoma and to enter into debate and really crush it at the level that he did is really on some Denzel Washington, great debater stuff, you know what I'm saying? Stuff of legends. And I want you to talk a little bit about like the significance of you going into that space and existing in the way that you did, and some of the tools that hip hop gave you to be as successful, and don't be afraid to talk about the success that you did.
Yeah. Well, hip hop was the whole foundation of everything. I put it cut and dry. First of all, before I got involved inside of debate, I had not seen anybody do what I did as far as utilizing debate, which was really just a bunch of kids who was trying to get better grades in a class, who was doing some stuff over the weekend to try to impress a teacher. Be able to use that to then get a scholarship to go to a D1 university and then travel around the world, then talk a whole bunch of stuff that they really were passionate about, and then utilize that platform to kind of just like keep going through life. So I started out at Skyline High School doing just what we refer to as very basic policy debate, and then went on, by using the mouthpiece to be able to acquire a position or a place on a team of one of the best debate teams in the intercollegiate space in college, which was the University of Oklahoma. I had never been to Oklahoma before. I don't know nothing about Oklahoma before this time. I'm a straight East of it all the way, straight California kid all the way. In 2014, I went from that, you know what I'm saying, in 2010 going there, to fast forward, by the end of 2014, I was the first African-American to ever win top speaker at the most prestigious intercollegiate college debate tournament that exists, which is called the National Debate Tournament. That existed, I think it was 1940s, I don't know when it started, a long time ago, before black people were able to even participate in the college or in this tournament for a long time. I became, you know what I'm saying, the kind of spokesperson of not only hip-hop, but just like black presence in the most authentic way, without it being, what they say, curtailed or assimilated to try to make it be on some respectability politics as they talk about it. So it's like, you can be black, but only within these certain paradigms you can be black. I pretty much was a part of breaking down all of the paradigms, and it's like, man, we're going to exist how we're going to exist, and there's intelligence in the way that we exist. So, you know what I'm saying? I used a lot of stuff that folks didn't use. So like in every debate that I had, I was spitting. I used rapping and verses as pieces of evidence because I said that these verses from Nas, from J. Cole, I use a bunch of J. Cole, from Killer Mike, all these different verses to me were the same as a university person who's gotten their degree and has written down their experiences on the field. What they call them, it's pieces
field
of
research.
Yeah, those pieces of evidence to say that, hey, these give me this type of theory and I make this claim based on it. I said, this is the same way that J. Cole's doing. This is the same way that Killer Mike is doing. And I would use these verses and I would say, here is the argument that's being had here. Here is the evidence that backs up that argument. And here is the reasons to why it is necessary to listen to these voices and to not cast this out from the levels of what we believe is intellectual, not intellectual, because they do that all the time. They'll say, this is smart and this is dumb. And most of the time, their incentives of doing it is very much entrenched in anti-blackness. Meaning that the more niggly you are, the more I don't believe what you're saying is intelligent or associated with intelligence. The more that you start to talk from your, it was an argument that we used to run, Nomo. Nomo was a language argument that said, I'm going to talk as black as I want to talk in the most prestigious spaces to show you that just because my dialect has changed, there is no detachment from intelligence. In fact, there's a level of intelligence you can't access unless you understand my dialect. Unless you come to the hood and understand what's going on around here, there's a lot of teachings that you will never be able to access in these ivory towers of the university institution. So I just went in on that shit. I'm talking to people at Harvard like, if you ain't been to the hood, then you missing out on a lot of knowledge. Straight
up.
And that concept at first was just some crazy stuff, but then I actually molded it, actually perfected the way to be able to get those arguments, and eventually I made them have to learn our side of things. The last part I said is I created this argument that was called Next Level. Next Level was about education, and it was about understanding the different communities that can provide you with different forms of education. So, example, Namo Ami Tofu. Listen, me and AJ had a conversation with, what was she, a Buddhist?
Yeah.
She was a Buddhist. Randomly.
She was for sure a monk. Maybe not Buddhist.
She was a monk.
She was for sure a monk, though.
She was a monk.
Yeah.
Randomly, we walking down the street in downtown Oakland, and a small monk lady walked by us, and she tell us Namo. Yeah. We like, what? You know, AJ, he gonna talk to anybody. Hey, what you say? Say me again. I'm like, AJ, stop talking to that damn lady. No, say it again. She said, Namo. She said, whenever you go around the world, she said, say Namo Ami Tofu. This is a beneficial like energy that she give off. She was basically saying it's about like tranquility and peace and speaking your peace. But it was coming from her culture. Yeah. And we sat there and we listened to her give this game, and we like, yo, we would have never known this. Yeah. When the last time we would have had information from a monk? Right. Well, you know what I'm saying? Right. From then, me and AJ, every time we was like, let's start taking no information. What we did there was when my argument talked about the next level, what we did there was a positive example of how you can be good on the next level, meaning how you can communicate with communities in which you are not familiar with. White supremacy, a lot of fear from difference comes into conversations because they are parasitic to communities that they do not understand. And because they don't understand them, they deem them as unintelligent, they deem them as unvalued, they deem them as unwanted. You get what I'm saying? But the point of Next Level is how can you come into this community and engage with it with a positive lens? How can you look at the information that they're giving you as not inferior or primitive, but look at it as, hey, you got a different perspective of the world that I can take into my stuff, and I can help myself be a better person by the information you provided me. So that's what black folks, that's what monks, that's what any form of community that me and AJ would go to, we would look at it through that lens naturally. And I just so happen to make it an argument to talk about how different policies that the United States was pushing was doing the exact opposite of this. They were what we call parasitic to those communities. Meaning they would go in and try to dismantle, right, the value that's already, the same way we do with international politics. We'll go to these countries and look at the way you're doing this. Y'all ain't doing it right. Come on. Here, let me bring my police in here. This is how you supposed to do this. How you going to tell them people what they're supposed to do? Right? Because it's an inherent superiority complex that you walk around the earth with that is parasitic to the people without even realizing that, hey, they might actually help you be better. If you actually engage in them in a positive way, they can help you push to the next level. So that was one of the things I did. I basically, that example of Next Level is essentially what I did throughout the whole debate, my whole debate career.
See, that's powerful because you affected, you came in and showed them how to be better people. And I say that because you went in and learned how they do things.
Yeah.
And by using their structure, you superimpose your structure on top of it, which made them have to engage with who you are, but also showed them how to engage with you.
Now, I'm gonna be honest. My debate partner name is the Conscious Lee, right? His name is really George Lee. The Conscious Lee got a bunch of TikTok following. Some people may recognize his name, whatever. We knew nothing on the level of college debate when we went to Harvard to debate. The level of training in which these debaters that we were debating had compared to what we had was a different world. It's a common joke that me and him had for a long time. We got kicked out of JV and we was forced to go into what's called open, which is varsity in college debate. But we was technically still JV because we was new to it. Gotcha. And it's a funny example when George is going off on one of the judges because he said that he's worked so hard for this. He said, I've been working on this for 2 weeks. So, right, everybody started dying laughing. George doesn't realize why are they laughing. 2 weeks is a long time to be studying this. Not realizing these people have been studying this for their whole life. They've been doing this since they was in middle school. They've been doing policy debate for years. But in his mind, he's like, 2 weeks? You got me messed up. You think I'm going to practice 2 weeks and we ain't going to win? Like, we're supposed to win this. It's 2 weeks of work. Yeah. So my point was to say that we had to realize at that point, it was at that point where we realized, like, oh, the level of the level of time that was spent into white policy debate. I'm talking about these folks that spending hours. They taking Adderall. They staying up. They reading all type. They got research. They got tons papers. Now they put them in laptops, but they used to have what's called
evidence lockers,
bro. Evidence big ass partners, bro.
They was like DJs, come on, but they was bringing evidence and quotes.
Come on, they had to have like one of the wheel carriers that you get from the U-Haul.
They had to have a debate sponsor eventually with them, like Diddy did.
Bro, it was. My point is to say that
crazy.
They was putting in a lot of time for this sort of stuff. So what we saw immediately wasn't, and really credit to our debate coach, he saw this. He said, I'm not going to have y'all focus in on trying to learn their game. I'm going to have you focus in on learning your game. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So it wasn't up until a certain point I even knew how to technically debate within policy debate. I knew how to debate within I knew how not to break quote unquote rules, but in debate, even the rules of debate are somewhat debatable, right? To a certain extent, right? So we would be challenging the ways that folks would see stuff. So they would run arguments about us, and we would say, well, how does that affect niggas? How does that affect, well, what is this policy that you're talking about? Like, it was a policy I never forget in the UDO. It says, resolve the United States federal government should do something for persons living in poverty, right? And I was like, oh, y'all want to talk about being poor? I got a PhD in being broke degree. So y'all know I'm going to know about being poor better than any of y'all know about being poor. But they didn't look at it like that. Yeah. They just so happened to be debating about this topic. And they didn't think that you personally had to have that social experience of being impoverished to...
woke that game up.
I said, no. I said, have you been broke? Then you're not the professor here.
Well, one day my mom didn't give me allowance, and I was really mad.
It wasn't the same, right? So I started to take those things in, and they would run arguments on us that say, listen, identity politics is a bad thing. Identity politics means when you take a political conversation and you center yourself, you center your culture, you center your social location in which you come from. And our whole argument was that identity politics can be something very positive and it's something very necessary, especially when you are affecting communities, like I said, parasitically, in a way that is not beneficial because you don't understand those communities. So without that information and education about those communities, their perceptions, their ways of understanding, their ways of how they engage in poverty, you will never know the real impacts that it has. Also, you will never really know the solutions. Because what you deem as a solution really ain't no... Come on now. Yeah. Come on. So Judge, imagine you in the background, you hearing somebody from the hood being like, yo, know nothing about that. You at Harvard. You just a white man in the back of the room. Judges debate round. You hear these other folks say, well, technically our evidence identifies the fact that the United States federal government should substantially increase its inherently inheritance, and we have a hegemonic rule over the country and the ways that we engage with. It ain't going in, right? Yeah. But their whole point is to say that we should be able to talk about things that we haven't experienced. And our arguments in many ways were saying that that's okay for you to talk about those things, but do know that you don't create solutions in the ways that you think. And also you create a bad form of education, which then proliferates to other people and then continues what we deem to be anti-blackness and inherent, you know what I'm saying, negative views of folks who may be impoverished, negative views of people who may be going through things. Because now you think, oh, well, the government should have solved that. And if you become the perpetuator of victimization onto people which you know nothing about. But you think you know something about because you read this book that's completely detached you from the real world. I said a bunch, but...
You said a lot, but really, though, you went in, changed perspectives using their tools, and you had a certain innocence about it because you didn't know.
Yeah.
And that's life, because sometimes the fact that you don't know something, but you have the boldness to do, puts you in a position of freshness that you know, allows you a perspective that other people who've been jaded, if you will, by the rules follow. You like, y'all been following this?
Yeah.
Bruh.
Yeah.
What about this?
Yeah. So it was a certain time that in debate, me and George became kind of unbeatable with that. Yeah. Because we would use these arguments that folks didn't have, they had never put time towards researching reality. They had only been researching within this certain confines. So we presented
theory.
Yeah, so we took theory out of it and started to really kind of identify what can we do within this space? What form of education can I create right now that could be beneficial for the world once we walk out these doors? And it changed the way that they looked at a lot of stuff. And I just got really good at giving those speeches. I started to utilize my own ability to rap, my own verses in there. I started to give. I had a verse I never forget to where I just took all the stories out of East Oakland. I didn't even go through all of it. I just went through East Oakland. No, some of it was in West Oakland too. I take that back. Certain folks I met, and these folks were hooked, were, you know what I'm saying, hooked on drugs. A lot of different folks were going through certain situations in Oakland. And I took all of those kind of horror stories, but it was like my reality, and I put it in one verse, and I would spit it at the top of the debate. And I would give context to all right, this is what we're talking about. Now let's have a conversation. And now that you've experienced that verse, now you even have a fundamental education to really even know what you're talking about within the framework of this conversation. When you say persons living in poverty, do you really know who you're referring to? Well, let me tell you these stories. These are the people that's going through this. And I'll tell a story that really connects not only what we were talking about with health and wellness, but not to the effect of what is nourishing, but the fact of what is being deprived, right? We're talking about food deserts, right? You know what I'm saying? We're talking about different areas of folks who don't have access to certain resources. You get what I'm saying? Then from that conversation, say, okay, how can you solve this situation? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, like I said, this is the Verbal Apothecary where we're gonna bring you the herbals and the verbals. I'm gonna bring you the herbalists. I'm gonna bring you the doulas. I'm gonna bring you the debate geniuses. You know, coming straight from the mud, and I really would love to go deeper, but
come on, we got 5 more minutes. Come on, you can do 5 more. Ask one more question.
One more question. We got 5 more minutes. See, I don't want to cut my brother off. I just, you know, I want to make sure we all in alignment. So, okay, one more question. So how has hip hop influenced your health and wellness journey, brother?
Yeah, hip hop to me is something that not only I fell in love with at a very young age, but it's just a part of my being. Hip hop is like who I exist as. It's the culture in which I'm brought up in, and it's a representation of not only my mindset, but also a lot of the things that have situated my ambitions and what I conceive to be accomplished. It's like the foundation of my creativity. It's the foundation of just how I view the world. And you can see by how the world kind of like commodifies and takes all these different pieces of hip hop. But as it relates to health and wellness, I'm gonna be real with you. On the conversation of health and wellness, this is probably not the answer most folks want to see, but I see it as a fight. I honestly look at health and wellness for me as a fight that I'm in internally. The same fight that I think about when it comes to life. When we talk about folks, I remember, you know, Curse Crew. We was listening to Tupac coming up with the name Curse Crew and stuff. I remember Tupac having a song that was talking about our will to fight to live. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, folks? Dying to live, but we also are in this continual fight that essentially allows us to understand the value of life because of the fight, right?
Yes.
Because it's difficult, we appreciate each other.
Yes.
I'm going to hug you even tighter because I know, damn, you're a black man out here and it's rough. You get what I'm saying? That same relationship is what I have with wellness and with food. And I mean wellness on a food level, on a psychological level, on a spiritual level. It's a fight. I realized that when I got older, happiness isn't something that's just granted to me. When I was with AJ and we was younger, we was happy every day. We were laughing. We down there almost, you know what I'm saying? Die laughing. We'll laugh so hard. You get older, I realize some of them laughs start to die down. Yeah. Shit stop being as funny. Yeah. Shit start getting way more real. Serious. Motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And motherfuckers start dying. We start seeing all these different situations to where it's like, damn, I have to fight for my happiness. Right? So that's how I see wellness. For me, I'm like, I'm fighting to be well. I'm fighting to be psychologically strong. I'm fighting to be psychologically healed. And it's not... And I want to change that paradigm to where it's a positive relationship with healing. But at the same time, I know to the place where I am right now, to where I want to be, nobody's going to help me get there. In fact, there are so many different obstacles that are put in my place to prevent me from even getting to where I want to be of wellness. To where I'm literally, you know what I'm saying, in a fight.
And that fight is the same fight that hip-hop has had deep in it from its inception.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think those two we coming back into a renaissance of that, in my opinion. I think folks are recognizing where we are in terms of how many fronts that we got to fight for our health. You know, we just came out of the pandemic, and we just now realizing the joy of outside again. You know what I'm saying? And getting back into nature, and hopefully we are. I know a lot of people still have to work with their heads down in whatever factory they was in or whatever, you know, trying to make ends meet. But the reality is the world had to come with a reckoning of, dang, like I either go with the Western world's just, hey, we got this pill for you. Yeah. We got this shot for you. Yeah. Heal all your worries and doubts. But then when you take it, you got more doubts and worries.
I said this to you before, but I think it's important to somebody to clip this and put this out to say that I really believe that Raw Soul Collective, and anybody doing work similar to Raw Soul Collective, the Wellness, Cooking Fire, all these different folks, Spirit, and all these different people who are doing positive work, not only when it comes to, you know what I'm saying, the diet, but also the teachings of having positive minds, the healing work, the psychological work. All of those type of acts and what y'all doing, I believe that is not only a fundamental fight and revolutionary act, but I also think you are going against a system that was created to do the complete opposite of that. A system that was meant to kind of like make us sick in so many different ways so that they can create profit. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to be too conspiracy theory. I'm talking very practical and simplistic. The fact that we don't have access to the things that Raw Soul Collective is providing, to me, proves in itself that a lot of folks did not want me to even have this. So what Raw Soul Collective is doing with health and wellness conversations, these points to really focus in on and talk about, this is not only a casual conversation, but in my opinion, a revolutionary act.
Hey, and that's what it is, bro. I love you, brother. You always come with your truth. You know what I'm saying? You're a real God out here. And many hands make light work, man.
Many hands!
So that's what it is. Verbal Apothecary. You hear Raj God, Perfect Prophet. You know what I'm saying? We got Toriyama in the back.
Crew!
You know what I'm saying? We really out here.
The crew in this thing!
You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my brothers, Raw Soul Collective. And we out this thing.
Yeah!
I got that CMOS, baby, call me a CMOS, baby. Do that body good like CMOS, baby. I'm a leader, I'ma take you to the treetop, baby. I care about your health, did you hydrate lately? I got that CMOS, baby, call me a CMOS, baby. Do that body good like CMOS, baby. I'm a leader, I'ma take you to the treetop, baby. I care about your health, did you hydrate lately?